Hey there, welcome back to Let's Play Defender's Quest by the developers. I'm Lars
And I'm James Cannon.
and we are Level Up Labs, and when we last left we had just got the dragon, and I think this time let's just play the next two story battles instead of going back and grinding.
Sounds good to me.
So, let's start this one. Do you think we're ready to jump right to advanced on anything?
Ooh, we are a little bit over-leveled because we've been going back and hitting those extreme challenges. We might be able... Oh, and that Captain's Warbow does look very enticing.
These guys are level 22 to 32 now, so let's give it a shot. We're morons. Okay, so here I guess they talk a little bit about dragons. And what was interesting is that Rena gives this little explanation of what dragons mean in Quake culture. What was really funny is that a lot of people basically just assumed that that meant that it was true. Which, I mean, I'm sure there's I don't think we ever settle that question anywhere, but I think there's a trope, I think TV Tropes calls it all legends are true.
Yeah.
That if anyone has any kind of cultural legend or myth or whatever, then it's just that might as well be in a anthropology textbook.
Yep. Yeah. It's something that drives me crazy, and what I wanted to establish is the idea that, this is a Quaid explanation for something they have observed.
I mean, it might be true, or it might just be kind of true, or it might just have elements of truth.
Yeah.
But that's kind of irrelevant. The point is it's the Quaid understanding of what they are.
Yeah, and I wanted... We never show those other stories, but I wanted to convey the idea that it's the Ash are going to have entirely different explanations. The Nomads are going to have their own crazy cultural ideas about dragons.
Right.
We don't get to see much of Nomad culture, which is kind of, I feel like, a missed opportunity. I mean, I think the most we get is one of the unique items we had mentioned some motifs of, the Nomad life tree.
Right. I think that was the Chieftain's Tunic just now. But the journal goes into a little bit more about that stuff in Game Plus.
Yeah, we get a little bit about their culture. We still don't hear many nomad stories.
Right.
Which is why I had wanted to include more from, what's his name? Klest Kata,
right,
the nomad adventurer.
Yeah, maybe he'll have his own game one day. But anyway, so basically what you're telling us here is that to the Quaid, the dragons are kind of like angels or jinn or something like that.
Yeah. They're not... Probably the closest analog would be jinn.
Yeah. Which is the kind of closest thing Islam has to demons, or... I'm not too well versed in Islam.
Yeah, my only experience with them is through Arabian Nights, so I have no idea what they're like in actual Muslim dogma.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of like using Italian folk tales as your guide to Roman Catholicism.
Yo, it's Diablo 3, so...
Right.
What the Vatican is trying to say.
Right. Oh, yeah, Dante's Inferno is the classic example. I don't think there's anything in any Catholic catechism about, specific levels of hell or anything like that, but that's, everyone... I think on TV Tropes they even talk about that. They have, the Word of God trope for when, an author of a story, says it, and it's oh, well, George Lucas said this about the canon of Star Wars, but then there's Word of Dante for when someone who comes along later makes something up and everyone assumes it was part of the original story. Like in King Arthur mythos, that's been written by so many people, someone comes along later and inserts Lancelot into the story or someone, and everyone assumes it was there from the beginning.
Yep.
Anyway, we got way off track. Yeah. But so basically, bottom line, to Quaid, some dragons are good, some are bad. They have some connection to their source of divine essence, which is the fire. And then...
It was very interesting to write about the Quaid deity, which is the cosmic flame, and never attach a personal pronoun to it. Because I wanted to avoid being it's a him! Or, it's a her! Ooh, look at us! Aren't we trendy? Right. So, it is only ever called by name. I think she referred to it as who there once.
Right. I mean, is it even referred to as a personal concept?
Not really. It is more of an abstract, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we probably slip up at least somewhere. So that's interesting.
It was useful to have a whole bunch of different names for it.
Yeah.
So she would that's kind of borrowed from Old English. But she'll refer, it's the cosmic flame, it's the great fire.
Right.
it's the eternal warmth, etc., etc.
And so basically, the upshot of all this is that she's not sure what kind of dragon Nier is. She's obviously not like one of the small number of dragons they would consider holy and like venerable or whatever. So she's either an evil dragon or basically a fallen dragon. Or wait, no, not a fallen dragon, but the ones the forgotten.
Yeah, the kind of unpredictable.
Yeah.
Like they'll waffle on it. They could land either way.
So basically, there's good dragons, there's bad dragons, and there's lost dragons. And so she's trying to figure out, according to her understanding of things, which kind of one Niru is in the Quaid understanding of things. Right. Well, there she just spells it out for us. I keep trying to say this before the cutscene just tells me. So anyway. Right, and so here basically we find out what Niru actually needs us for.
Yeah, and there's Azra handily telling us what this background is supposed to be.
Right.
Like, this is not generic cave background with flipped stalactites. Please, this is nest background. Haven't you noticed?
Indeed. And so here we need to establish a motivation for why, like, monsters are involved here.
Yeah, it was interesting working with dragons because they are only non-human race, and they have just about as much baggage as dwarves and elves and goblins and all the other ones that I try to avoid.
Right.
So, tried to give them a little more nuance, a little bit. It's still played fairly close to home.
Yeah, but you know what? I feel like if you're gonna have one like non-human race, I feel like dragon's a pretty good one because even traditionally there's still a lot of diversity there, places you can take it. It's hard to play out a dragon even now, like they still feels pretty awesome when you actually get a dragon you can control in a game. And honestly speaking, like they allow you to just go full-on sociopath if you want and just like live out that power fantasy through a giant dinosaur, essentially that breathes fire.
Yep, we're kind of heavy on sociopaths in this game.
Yeah, well, what's funny is that I feel like the characters aren't too different than the ones you see in standard RPGs. Oh crap! I need to pay attention. This is a hard battle. I haven't been thinking at all. Okay.
Something that drives me crazy with fantasy races.
Let's hold that for a second and get our butts not kicked. Okay.
Alright.
So we're dealing with, oh my gosh.
Level 27 knights.
60 points of armor, dude. Okay, those...
Okay, so Marcos is probably the only person.
Like, Keta might be able to deal with that if we can peel off some of that. Oh gosh.
And we have such limited space to plunk people down here.
Okay, well, we want to maximize our amount of time carving off the damage, or do we want to just do it early? Well, we have to maximize carving off damage time.
That makes sense.
And we need to overboost him so that his smash is doing lots of damage.
And counter is actually going to be useful because we have some armored attackers here.
Right, okay, I'm gonna put a can opener right after him and an ice mage to slow everybody down. Should I put her right in the middle like this?
Yeah, that could work nicely.
It requires boostage.
We can get some, that way we can get some archers set up in the back.
Well, we could get some archers, but we have 2 armored enemies and 1 enemy that's full of hit points.
Oh, right, these are the tank worms rather than the fast
Right,
worms.
we've basically got 3 different flavors of tank here, rather than, so I think it might make sense to focus more on, but rangers are still your best DPS in the normal game, so, let's try it. Where should we put her for maximum? That's not bad.
Yeah.
That's what, like 3 lanes? Like up here, and then down there?
Yeah, now boosting her isn't going to gain her, like there's not a whole lot of room for expansion there. It's like we're not going to gain a whole lot.
Right, well I'm going to focus on having her not waste her, I'm going to put her on strong so that she spreads out her attacks, and I'm going to demonstrate advanced targeting here. I'm also going to put her on best chance. And best chance means she's going to not target enemies that are likely to dodge or resist the attack, and this includes armor. So if an enemy is likely... So it gives her the best chance of doing damage. So she's going to ignore armored enemies, but still target the strongest in range. So she's going to look for an unarmored enemy, and then among those pick the strongest target. Which means she's going to put all her damage into these tank guys as soon as we can. I mean, she'll shoot whatever target's available, but hopefully we'll see her start dealing damage to tank things. And this guy should strong and optimize effects. So what this means is he's going to target the strongest enemy, but the other thing he's going to throw in there is he's going to try and make sure that his status effects are utilized best. Since his status effect is armor break, to remove armor, he's going to prioritize armored enemies over non-armored enemies because that's where his status effect is used best. You can use this on combinations of ice mages and dragons to keep them from targeting enemies that are either iced or fired so that you avoid negative impact from that.
That was an oft-requested feature.
Right, okay.
I don't know that we're going to be able to pull this one off.
Well, one thing we could do is that we could just crack a crystal right here, blow these guys up, and collect the money.
Oh dear. Oh wow. That was not... Oh, Keta!
Okay. Shall we just beat this on the normal difficulty then?
I think so. I noticed this was also, we were introducing enemies out of sequence. There are enemies in there that we actually had like story stuff linked to.
Right. Well, that usually happens with the harder battles anyway. Okay. What are we going to do here? Okay. Well, let's put her in that spot again, because I like that spot. And then we put Slack here, we put Lena here. Put her on that logic, and save it too. That's nice. I mean, there's some armored guys coming. I'll put Marcos here. We should be able to deal with this.
Might plunk down a second Berserker when we get some more cash. Cred up in that corner.
What's interesting is on your ice shard here, if you get the associated passive skill with it, which is Ice Spear, which lets it pierce enemies, I think. What you can do is that you can have her target last and put her where she's on a straightaway, and it'll slice through as many enemies as possible. And that's a useful tactic. But that usually requires that you spec your Ice Mage for damage rather than for freeziness, because it requires a lot of points. But it can be really helpful, especially with the anti-worm staff once it's been upgraded. Pretty amazing. Let's beat these guys up here.
Actually, we could afford to get Nero in here.
Yeah, well, let's have
if we
her
were so
start
inclined.
munching on things. Should we just put her here?
Yeah, that works.
I mean, she is really expensive, but she's going to draw a lot of fire. And that'll be helpful. I mean, I wonder if she's even... I mean, she's even strong enough to go right over their armor, just from sheer power. Which is pretty cool. Yeah, I think we've got a good setup here. Okay, actually, this is...
Yeah, I guess there's a little bit more room to work with dragons compared to others. Oh dear.
People are taking damage.
But compared to other fantasy races, it does seem like if you're a fantasy game and you're going to pick one, dragons. Come on, man. And it cracks me up that your other standard fantasy races are so standardized. We know what accents they have now.
And, like, what union they belong to.
It's like dwarves are always Scottish. Yeah. Goblins, probably Cockney. Elves, definitely British of some kind. You know, they're basically just people with pointy ears and a superiority complex. But we're also guilty about that. And even though they were like, would never imagine them with dirt under their fingernails, they're somehow in tune with nature. That's something that always bothered me. Like, the people of the earth need to have dirt under their fingernails. They need to actually, like, live on the earth.
And not, like, dress in white that is always, like, perfectly bleached.
Yeah, that's what I feel like. If you have elves, just yank them out, make it a human civilization with all those same traits, and suddenly they would become interesting and unique looking.
Right. Cool. Let's give them Holy Light. That is the awesome version of this. What could you get? Yeah, here's that Ice Spear.
Yes.
I'm gonna get it just to get it. So now she can hit 2 foes. I mean, another one will get, like, an extra one. It's a great way to multiply damage for this ability. Like, you can take one cheapo attack and then multiply this, and you can just, like, multiply how much your damage throughput. I mean, it's a really great way to spec your Ice Mates for damage. I want to pump money into Crystal because I really like having that as an answer.
Yeah, it is a nice last ditch. Here we go.
Okay, so what is that all about?
This is, I liked the acts kind of teasing what's coming next. So like right before we went underground into the city, we had the quote about being underground and lost. And so this one is teasing some villains that are coming up. And we also, I liked that we were able to maintain that sense of like, ooh, something interesting is coming up and I'm not sure what, and also cram a lot of information in here. If the player remembers, Geka tribe is the particular nomad tribe that Keta comes from.
Have we mentioned that before?
I believe she offers it as her last name at one point.
I'm not sure if it's mentioned anywhere, but anyway.
I don't remember now. I know for certain New Game Plus,
yeah,
we talk about that pretty early on.
Right.
That's something that all of our side quests, we were not, at least when I wrote them, we were not planning on sticking them only in New Game Plus. That was a later decision.
Right.
So, in a lot of ways, I feel that New Game Plus actually has some better pacing, or at least more nuanced progression.
Right. But anyway, yeah. So this tells you a lot of things about what's happened to what Keta's tribe, and all those kind of things. And of course, the dragon's children serve as your recruitable dragons, basically. And here, Niru being in the better bargaining position of I could eat you if I felt like it. Feels like she will extract another promise. So I guess dragons are kind of like camels.
Yeah, I wanted to go with almost like the kind of boa constrictor idea, where it's like, you can eat an entire alligator. You'll be good for like 6 months.
Indeed. Oh, whoops. I zoomed through this too quick. This was, I can't remember who came up with this story thing. I mean, basically, we just had an idea for a gag level, and then just tried to work the story around it.
I think it was Anthony, and he just kind of threw it out there. I think he was expecting me to dismiss it, and I was like, actually, I think this could work. It's one of our more surreal moments, but I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. It's one of the only times where we have a humorous situation.
Right.
Like, my general approach, my general philosophy is that situations are serious, people are funny.
Yeah. And then here we just deal with the ridiculous of this situation.
And let Keta do what she does best.
Right. Yeah. This joke actually doesn't work quite as much anymore, because Keta used to have this crazy red hair fro.
Yeah, it used to be the annoying girl with crazy hair.
Right. And so we kept the joke, even though it doesn't quite work anymore, but whatever.
And this was another example of that. I can't really think of a joke that goes here, so we'll just have the characters complain about that and then make fun of each other.
Yeah, and then end with a sight gag. Yeah, I thought this was pretty cool.
Sheep are really hard to draw. Like, it's one thing to kind of like abstract people and be like, okay, I can make some kind of cartoony people, but sheep, like, I hate those sheep so much. It was,
Yeah, their justification here is... I will not say it's not contrived, but I do think that it almost looks like a wolf.
Yo.
Which is perhaps appropriate. I think I put the deep in. Anyways, the infamous sheep level.
Yep, and then we have, like, cute, fluffy, bouncy sheep that Tyvon created, which is what I should have gone with, but...
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with this one. I think,
This was... Basically, it was a side quest before we had decided there were going to be side quests.
Right.
I feel like it would have...
I like how they turn into little mutton chops.
The animation is glorious.
We have little alternate we can have a separate death animation for every enemy, but we usually just use the same purple goop for each one. And this one just has them turn into like a little plate of mutton. You can tell that I actually forgot to fix the offsets for that animation, so that when he kills a sheep, you'll see it bounce down a couple pixels.
Yeah, it drops a little low there.
And then it, but when you get Slack like super boosted here, you get 3 berserkers just kind of going at it. I'm gonna put a dragon in there just for good measure. It becomes really fun to just kind of watch the melee. Let's put it.
Yeah, this was a chunk of the story that I basically broke all of my own writing rules.
Yeah, I mean...
It makes no sense, it completely derails what we're doing, it's bizarre and totally illogical in comparison with our overall goals.
Yeah, I mean, but sometimes you just have to break the rules to have some fun. I mean, this is like one of... I think this is simultaneously like people's favorite and least favorite moment of the game.
Alright, we have the most powerful enemy in the game here.
Right.
Which is something that's always bothered me. It's like, we have a secret boss that's actually like a super badass. Why is he not in charge? Shouldn't the main antagonist just be like his little errand boy? Because that's what I'm seeing by the HP levels here.
Right, no, the Super Sheep, who is the extreme challenge on this level, it's pretty fun to do, but it's actually one of the biggest challenges in the game is trying to beat the Super Sheep. And, I think Anthony pushed for that. I kind of like it because it's just... I don't know if this makes me a bad person, but every time like we launch Defender's Quest on a new service, almost instantly, one of the first questions that would go up on whatever that service's forum was, how do I kill that insert expletive sheep? And then people were like, what? What's this about a sheep? They're like, when you get there, you'll know. But I feel like that's great because it's one of those really memorable moments of the game. It's one of those like really great little set pieces, and like whenever anyone talks about Defender's Quest, they talk about the Super Sheep, and that makes me happy inside. Although,
in a very sadistic sort of way.
And to be fair, I've had to, when my wife and I played through the game, we've had to try to beat the Super Sheep, and then now I can actually empathize with what people are going through and the horrible frustration. Cool.
There we go. She's a dragon, so she has to have a bifurcated tongue.
Indeed. Right, and here where we kind of lampshade the whole deal about the why can't you just fly out, etc. And then she just... I love it how Nero's just like, I'm not going to answer that question because I'm large and intimidating. Cool. And then Azra knowing that, because Azra knows exactly that Nero actually needs her, is not going to pass up a chance to get what she needs.
And then Nero has to play it off as still being the one in control.
Right. Yeah.
You're like, well, actually, you're really putting the screws to me, but I'm going to pretend that I'm doing this just out of amusement.
Yeah, I'm going to pretend like that was my idea all along so that I can retain. Oh, we can get lots of awesome stuff now.
Excellent.
Oh, well, I guess we could progress to the next layer and then grab stuff and then call it a day for this episode.
Sounds good. Yeah, one thing that we never ever explained satisfactorily story-wise is why the dragons would sell their stuff for scrap. Like, that fit really well as our currency, but...
Oh, I guess I see your point. Well, it makes sense that they would, like, collect a bunch of stuff, and have this, like, giant treasure hoard. I mean, I suppose the deal is they could kind of be like magpies or anything else that, like, just collects stuff.
Probably should have said something to that effect, where it's like, dragons don't really have any sense of value, so they just stockpile loads of different things.
Right. I mean, you have plenty of precedent for that. Well, we kind of... Actually, it looks like we address that here, maybe.
A little bit, yeah. Not as satisfactorily as I would have liked.
Alright, there's one of my favorite jokes. I like the comedic timing there. ... Oh my gosh, we can buy more than one awesome Sword of Doom. I think that is what will happen. And then we can also buy more than one amazing... And this is even better than our unique weapon that's been carrying us so far.
Nice.
And then, go ahead and buy something awesome for somebody. she'll pass that terrible piece of crap down to him later. Maybe we can get a decent piece of armor for somebody who's completely... He'll get that. We'll pass down other thing. And that has us almost completely out of stuff. And we can't even afford a new dragon. Oh, is this a long story?
Emo Bacall. Yeah, I think originally we wanted to have like a separate unique art slideshow for this, like we had at the beginning.
Right, and then budget happened, and
Yeah.
so Bacall just looks at the floor for like 20 slides.
Yep. I
Right.
think we even had like some sketches and stuff for it. I remember having a little silhouette picture I was pretty happy with.
Right.
One frame out of like 30. But
Right, we never sent him to Karen.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, next game we'll have a budget, so we can do stuff like that. Right. I mean, and this is what I feel like is good. Like, finally we get some like some explanation of what's happening, but you don't get it until like way later.
And you don't feel like Bacall is stringing you along or ripping you off, which is
or holding back.
yeah, how it used to be.
Right. And even still, Bacall still doesn't know everything. Like,
Yeah.
you know, there's still more he needs to find out, and he finds out about it at the same time you do, which is the whole Royal Records Room thing. Right, we kind of explain what happened in the background there, and where the plague came from.
Yeah, I think we never actually quite spell out when exactly the Quaid Empire fell, because we reference like the war being over, and also this having gone on for 10 years. But
Right.
it's kind of nebulous, because you have very young characters, like I think we say Rena is 19, and obviously has a significant past before the war ended, and we never quite spell out like where in that range it would have happened. I think in my personal notes, I want to say it happened when Rena was like 13 or 14.
Right. Yeah. We'll have to check if that squares up with the map
Yeah.
and everything else. But anyway, so that's a little bit of the backstory of things. I don't know what we'll do next episode, but we'll probably play some more of this game and give you our unsolicited opinions about it.
I think we're going to have to test out all that awesome loot. Did we equip all that loot?
No, we didn't.
I think we should do that. Micromanagement.
Yay.
Yay for a climactic finish. That's how I like to end all my stuff.
That's how we end the demo. It's like we end the demo with a town. So, but I feel like that's kind of nice in a way. Okay, he's going to get a better sword than that. He's going to take his sword, and then he can have whatever is left. And then
he's got no armor.
Yeah.
Get that mail shirt on.
Don't.
And I was, writer rant here, I was sure to include the old spelling of mail. Did you know, fun fact of the day, chainmail is a retarded term. It originated around 1850. Mail comes from medieval French, and it just means chain. So it's a redundant term that means chain.
So it's like ATM machine or HIV virus?
Yeah, and then because that became so prevalent, when Dungeons and Dragons came along and was like, okay, so we need to categorize and have a bajillion different categories of armor. So you have chainmail, and then you would have like plate mail and maybe like leather mail, and we're not really sure what mail means. It's just kind of a suffix for armor. And no, you're just saying we have plate chain and leather chain and scale chain, and it's stupid. Stop it. Stop doing it.
To put it mildly. Apparently James feels very strongly about these sorts of things. Okay, looks
It'd be like, well, we have a monster truck, and then we have a car truck and a bicycle truck.
Okay, I get the point. Alrighty. Okay, well, that's been it for this episode. I'm Lars and
And I'm James Kevin.
this has been Level Up Labs. Let's play Defender's Quest by the developers. Hope you have a great day.